Hi everyone, and thanks for joining for another episode of Ecommerce Espresso. If this is your first time joining us, welcome to Ecommerce Espresso. It's the webinar that's shorter than your coffee break. To keep these webinars as quick and insightful as possible, we don't hold a live Q&A. However, if there's a question that you'd like to put to LoyaltyLion or today's guest, please do tweet us using the hashtag Ecommerce Espresso and at LoyaltyLion HQ, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. So let's not let our coffees get too cold and we'll jump straight in. Today, I'm being joined by Stacey, who is the Brand and Product Marketing Director at Ometria. Welcome, Hannah. It's great to have you here. Would you like to start us off by telling us a bit about yourself and about Ometria?
Yeah, absolutely. So as you said, I'm a Brand and Product Marketing Director at Ometria, which means lots of talking to retailers, figuring out how we can best solve their problems, and really what Ometria is we describe ourselves as a smart ESP that essentially lets retailers leverage all of that lovely customer data that they're sitting on, and send their customers kind of personalized, really relevant, targeted marketing messages throughout the customer journey, whether that's on email, social, SMS, push, the whole lot.
Yeah, that sounds great. Very important these days. Great. Well, it's great to have you on board. We'll get stuck in with our first question. What big trends do you see happening in retail in 2020 that will shape e-commerce in 2021?
Yeah, well, obviously 2020 is going to stand out for all sorts of reasons, mostly bad. But I think talking specifically about retail, what we saw was this really extreme speeding up of a trend that we're already seeing in that online shopping and e-commerce is becoming more popular. And I think in 2020, e-commerce blew up almost overnight. There's this stat from the ONS that shows that, like, I think online shopping grew 10 years in the space of 3 months, which is just mind-blowing. So you've got all of these consumers turning their attention to online shopping because physical retail is shut because we're in lockdown, and they're discovering all of these new brands. And there's a stat from McKinsey, I think, that 75% of consumers tried a new online shopping brand during lockdown, and 60% of those said that their habits had changed for good. And I think really that marks a big shake-up when it comes to loyalty, with all these people discovering new brands online. And then on the retail side, you have all these retailers, especially like physical high street retailers, who are realizing that this like 4-year digital transformation project that they had on the back burner suddenly needs to be achieved in like the space of, well, it needs to be delivered yesterday in order to keep up. Yeah. Or they're going to lose all of their customers to these amazing online first brands that really focus on digital and the customer experience. So as for 2021, I think it's really unlikely that we're going to go back to how things were before COVID for retailers. Sure, people are going to return to physical retail when they feel like it's safe, but I think a year of online shopping has really changed consumer habits for good. And almost regardless of retailers' lockdown performance, because I think it's clear some people did really well, some people struggled to remain relevant, the focus now needs to be online and offering those really slick customer experiences that kind of keep shoppers coming back and remaining loyal to the brand.
Yeah, that's so true. I agree completely. I think I really can't see e-commerce and retail going back to the way it was before. Too much has happened, too much has changed, and like you say, the habits that are there now, and the people discovering how easy it is and putting trust into e-commerce when maybe they didn't shop that much online before. Maybe they didn't trust it, but now they're realizing, oh, it's really handy. I don't have to go anywhere to do my shopping. I can just stay at home and wait for it to be delivered. And there'll be a shift probably again when things open, but I think, I can't see it going back to the way it was before.
Absolutely. And I just think lockdown forced retailers to consider relevance in a way that they hadn't before. Like all of a sudden, retailers were having to really think about the people on the receiving end of their marketing messages. And it's like, of course, I don't want to be reminded of the fact that I can't go on holiday. So that retailers having to change the way they talk and suddenly be relevant. And we saw loads of brands do really cool stuff, like creating Spotify playlists and like bringing a charitable element to their marketing. And I just don't think consumers are going to take it from brands if they suddenly flip back to very kind of promotional sales-based emails all the time.
Yeah, they're going to keep that heart in it a little bit more, and that just knowing the situation, like the situation that we're in, is going to just keep being used in marketing instead of, like you say, just always looking for a sale. I think one of my favorite ones was the at-home delivery, at-home kits from lockdown, like all of these brands, and especially restaurants who are using burger kits and pizza kits because no one can come and enjoy our food. Well, here's the next best thing for you, and that like got really good attention. Just another example of what you were saying. But I think looking forward to 2021, I'm excited to see the response as things change again, and the way that e-commerce, like you say, it's going to keep going with these new brands, because they've had to play catch up in a sense, a lot of people. And while it's been a while now, it's probably going to turn to more optimizing and trying to compete with those big retailers, and that's where tech stack comes in, and using the data to create even better relevant marketing and communication. So that's good. I'm excited for this year now. Perfect. Well, on personalization, I'll move on to our second question, which is, personalization has been a growing trend in recent years, which we already said, but how do you see it evolving to drive greater loyalty in 2021?
So I think it's really intricately linked to the shift to digital, and the brands that are really kind of getting ahead of the pack right now are the ones that have personalization really at the heart of their approach to the customer experience. Because I think customer experience really is going to be the mainstay of retailers' competitive advantage, because they can compete on price and they can compete on service, but really, especially for kind of small, mid-sized retailers who are competing with the likes of Amazon, it's going to be that relationship that they forge with their customers that will be the thing that keeps them going. And we talk a lot at Ometria about creating marketing experiences that customers love, and we really believe that the way to consumers' hearts is through relevance and sending marketing messages that really speak to them personally, their interests, where they're at with your brand right now. And I think effective personalization really relies on the ability to leverage all the data that a retailer is sitting on to build a really accurate view of that customer, in order to base that kind of personalization. So, and increasingly, I guess, just because tech's moved on so much in the last few years, that means not just using data to say, oh, this person has bought this before, or looking at their previous behavior, but actually starting to use AI to start to predict customer behavior by being like, oh, this is when a person might disappear forever. This is the kind of thing that they're going to be interested in buying next. And that, just to give you an example, if I were to buy some moisturizer, say from a brand, I'm probably not going to be in the market for moisturizer in the weeks or maybe months after that purchase. So any marketing messages about moisturizer are probably going to be at best ignored, or at worst make me feel like that brand doesn't understand me. And I think somewhere in my brain, that lack of relevance is going to register, and it's going to make me less likely to open that brand's email again. And at that point, a retailer should be using data to figure out the products that I as a moisturizer shopper, are most likely to want to buy in the meantime. It feels very strange saying the word moisturizer again.
How many times?
Give it a few weeks, and I might be wanting to buy some moisturizer again. That retailer should be able to tell using data when that time is, and drop me an email being like, hey, Hannah, remember us, that great moisturizer you bought, it's time for a repurchase. And it's also important that personalization is consistent across every touch point that a customer has with your brand. So whether you're sending them emails or social ads, that it's a really consistent experience.
Yeah, I love that moisturizer example. It just really explained it really well, because yeah, I think people look at personalization and they maybe, you know, don't go deep enough like that. They like you say, they look at their previous history, or they, you know, add a name to emails or add names to homepages, and that's, especially now, it's not really enough to capture their attention and to really make them build that relationship, like you say, because everyone's maybe doing that in some form, and there's only a certain amount of success that can probably come from it. But when you think about, oh, I'll forecast and I'll predict where they're going to come from next, and, you know, when and what they're going to buy, and market it that way, you know, you're there when they want it. They're going to see you when it's relevant to them. And like that's going to really improve customer experience. Like you say, it's just, yeah, delighting that customer into being there when you want them and when you need them, with the right content. What more could they want? It's really personal, you know.
Totally. And I know both of our companies are very heavily invested in the importance of in the importance of loyalty. And I think like recognizing someone's loyalty status brand is so important in that in your marketing efforts, and giving them that special treatment and really rewarding them for their loyalty to you is really, really, really vital. And also thinking about the future, using AI to predict which customers are likely to become those really loyal as well is really important, because you can start nurturing them right at the beginning.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just moving them down that loyalty life cycle from, you know, new customer to repeat customer, advocate, you know, and those things can be nurtured, and like using AI, using your data, using tech tools to send the right information at the right time. It's key to driving that loyalty. And like you say, we are big on personalization in that way here. We're big on data as well. You know, we're all about looking at the picture, looking at the customer, and just building out that base of loyal ones, because that's where we want to be. And speaking of data, that brings us on to our final question today. What do you believe are the top 3 data points to collect from your existing customers, and why? If someone were to focus on which data to look at, what would you suggest?
I'm going to be really annoyed. Not entirely answer the question.
That's okay.
I don't mind. I think the truth is that any touch point that a customer is having with your brand from a data perspective needs to be incorporated into that like profile that you're building of them. So like whether that's what they've bought, and also importantly what they've returned, because that's important too, right? What they're browsing when they come to your site, what they've been adding to cart, what they've been leaving behind, when they visit you, what they look at when they're visiting you, how many loyalty points that they've accrued over their relationship with you. That's all part of that like holistic view. And I think that missing data points can lead to a disjointed customer experience. So an example that I often use is like, let's say I'm a customer with a popular high street retailer who also has a website and sells online. And when there's not a global pandemic going on, I regularly shop in their stores, and I've spent hundreds of thousands of pounds with that retailer in their brick and mortar outlets. And let's say as a result of lockdown, I've made my first purchase online with them. So really, I'm a loyal VIP shopper with that brand, because all of my activity is offline. But without that data, I'll end up being treated like any old first-time online shopper without that holistic view. And that's not going to kind of recognise my loyalty and make me feel really special and want to come back again.
Yeah, it's so true. Like, yeah, just again, talking about the way personalization and loyalty are connected, and why using all of that data that you, like, your customers have is so important to treat them the right way. You know, nobody wants to not be recognized for loyalty or not be treated special when they feel like they are, you know, and you need to listen to your customers in that way. You can't tell them what they should feel, you know, that if this is if this is how they feel about their purchasing, then it needs to be reflected in the site and in the loyalty program. And in your emails and everywhere. I think it's just important. Yeah, like you say, I guess there's no real way of choosing the top 3. Perhaps you have to look at the whole big picture of the customers, and use it right, use it correctly. Sorry, that's what that's again what we kind of talk about in LoyaltyLion, because we are also very data driven, and we always tell people to look at the data and segment correctly, segment audiences, and treat them differently, and treat loyal customers different to new customers or at-risk customers, to really see the best results from all of your activities, whether it's email, whether it's the loyalty program, or your social media, anything like that.
I think also I totally get why retailers struggle. Like retail data is typically held all over the place, and so many retailers know that they're sitting on an absolute goldmine of all of these different types of customer data, but it's just leveraging it that's the problem. And I think there's that joining up of all the data into a single profile that can be challenging, and that needs to be a kind of real-time thing. You can't rely on spreadsheets or manually transporting data between solutions and uploading CSVs. Like retailers can't live like that.
Yeah.
And then the next challenge is kind of, sure, you might be sat on all this data, but it's extracting those insights, then be used in marketing campaigns. And like, we know that retailers often don't have a kind of dedicated data scientist on their marketing team. And in this world where consumers are expecting like super personalized messages at every touch point, that needs to be powered by automation and AI rather than a human being behind the scenes. Like, it would be impossible for a human to kind of achieve those levels of personalization.
Yeah, particularly for smaller businesses. You know, the bigger retailers might have the capacity to hire someone or outsource or anything like that, but for a lot of smaller retailers who need to compete, and they need this tech and they need the data and insights to be able to compete against other small businesses or bigger ones, then it's I think it's key to find the right way of extracting the data, whether that's, you know, an insights within the tech itself, like some of the stuff we have at LoyaltyLion would tell the merchant, you know, what they maybe should focus on. I think our customer value snapshot and things, but looking for the best ones. Yeah, sorry, go on.
That's a brilliant point, actually, because we've moved to a place where personalization just used to be the reserve of just like enormous juggernauts like Amazon, Adidas, all of those guys. And actually what we've seen is the tech really kind of caught up and made personalization available to lots of businesses. Even basically ESPs like MailChimp now allow a certain level of personalization within campaigns. And so like for retailers now, it's like the possibilities are almost endless, like in terms of what customer segments they can be targeting, what automation campaigns they can be running, what channels they should be personalizing. Within that personalization, what personalization techniques are they going to be using? Dynamic content? Are they going to be using product recommendations or that kind of thing? And in some respects, it's a bit overwhelming, I think.
Yeah.
And something that we're really passionate about, Ometria is using what we call our methodology to help retailers take quite a data-driven approach to building out that CRM strategy. So basically that means we work alongside our customers to kind of use data to model the potential uplift of any given campaign so that retailers can kind of prioritize the things that are going to drive the most uplift for them. And I think that's going to be super important going forwards, especially as kind of tech allows us to do more and more stuff, is like having that ability to focus on what matters.
Yeah, yeah. And like that, I think sometimes a little bit of help. Everyone needs a little bit of help sometimes. And, you know, that's with data, especially, I think. Yeah. So yeah, using the tools, using what's available, what insights are there, what data is there, and ask, looking for the help where it's available to better the efforts. It's going to be key. And it's there. Isn't it so frustrating where it's like, it's there, the data is there, you just need to work it.
Exactly.
That's hopefully going to be this. Well, hopefully this will help people to understand and to get some useful tips to take with them. That's all we have time for now, really. Thank you so much, Hannah, for taking the time to come and explaining everything really well. And like, your examples are really good. And yeah, I learned a lot about personalization.
Aww, thank you.
It's always nice to learn something. But that brings us to the end of this episode. So thank you everyone for joining. I hope you found something valuable as well today, and are leaving with some really great ideas and insights. As always, we'll share the on-demand recording. So don't worry if you feel like you've missed something, you'll be able to watch it back. And one big last thank you to Hannah for being today's guest speaker. Remember, if you have any questions for either Ometria or LoyaltyLion, don't hesitate to reach out or tweet us using the hashtag Ecommerce Espresso. Hope to see you all online again soon.
Hi, everybody, and thanks for tuning in to another episode of Ecommerce Espresso. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want more of these short but insightful webinars, you can catch all of our previous episodes over on our YouTube channel. Just search for LoyaltyLion. Before you go, why not see if you can identify the gaps in your loyalty strategy that are costing you the most with our retention score sheet? You can see how your approach matches up with our downloadable tool over on loyaltylion.com/retention score sheet. That's loyaltylion.com/retention score sheet with no spaces. We'll see you soon for our next e-commerce espresso.